Hello and welcome to the Rabyd Atheist. I'm Rabyd, a former pastor turned atheist, now compassionate anti-theist. Welcome to my channel. Feel free to like or dislike the video as you see fit, so feel free to hit those buttons. Feel free to comment below, and I would appreciate it if you subscribe to the channel and hit your notification bell for more content as is released. You're also free to share my videos as much as you like, because the purpose of this channel is educational and goes to atheist and deconversion issues and any issues related to those issues. A hearty shout out to the Rabyd Nation. Join the nation by hitting this subscribe button, and if you want to support the channel in a more tangible way, hit the join button, and your membership options for citizenship will be presented to you. Today I want to continue on in the Bible study series on Tuesdays called Heroes of Faith. This is a series where I've been going through Hebrews 11, going through the list that the writer of Hebrews calls the heroes of faith, or people that he wants people to emulate as far as faith. And we've reached the character of Noah. Now, I think for most of us, Noah and his flood and the whole story is a little bit familiar, but to kind of recap in brief, the world gets so wicked that God becomes grieved over how wicked humanity is, and he says, I've had enough, I'm going to destroy the entire world, because he can't come up with a better plan. And so he decides to destroy the world with a flood, and then he finds Noah. Noah's a righteous man, a good man. So, you know what, I'm going to save Noah and his family. So I'm going to tell them to build a big boat, get themselves, and all the critters in the world need to be on that boat as well. And then once, they get all that done, I'm going to send the rain, destroy humanity. Noah's family will be saved. So Noah hears this warning from God and decides to build the ark, builds it. Him and his 3 sons build it. They gather up all the animals. The rains come. All of humanity is destroyed. The winds cause the waters to recede. And Noah finds himself on Mount Ararat, and everybody's alive, and so on and so forth. And then, they come out of the ark. Noah offers up a sacrifice to God, and God is pleased with it. God puts the rainbow in the sky and all of that. And then a little epilogue for Noah as Noah gets older. He builds a vineyard afterwards, creates some wine from the vineyard, gets drunk off of it, and decides, being drunk, he decides to walk around naked and do all that stuff. And one of his sons discovers him and then tells the other 2 sons. And so, the other 2 sons back up, cover their father's nakedness, and they're blessed. And the grandson of the one son gets cursed because of it. So, kind of an arbitrary thing, a little bit weird ending for a pretty fantastic story. Now, the writer of Hebrews has this to say about the story of Noah. It says, by faith, Noah, when warned about things not yet seen, in holy fear built an ark to save his family. By his faith, he condemned the world and became a heir of righteousness that is in keeping with faith. Okay. So I look at the story of Noah, and I find it now as an atheist completely ridiculous. Okay, first of all, I think the character of God is ridiculous in the story, that his only solution is to kill everybody and start over. Okay, that's all he's got. He doesn't have the ability to convince these people that they're being wicked. He doesn't have the knowledge of how to deal with the situation other than to condemn everybody and destroy everybody. It's a very, Yahweh's kind of a prick, but he really doesn't seem to have any better justification for anything. You'll see this when, he's nuking Sodom and Gomorrah, or, when the people of Israel are wandering the wilderness, they build a golden calf, and Moses has to intercede on their behalf, to save them. God seems to have a temper issue, an anger issue. And in this case, it doesn't say he got angry, but he was grieved about it. But out of his emotions, God seems to have these really bad plans about genocide, about nuking everybody and killing everybody. But in this particular case, the writer of Hebrews picks up the story of the character of Noah and says, he was warned about things not yet seen. In holy fear, he built an ark to save his family, and by his faith, he condemned the world. And in this way, he becomes the heir of righteousness that is keeping with faith. Okay, now this tells us a lot about what the writer of Hebrews thinks about faith. In other words, he's warned about things not yet seen. There's a definite parallel here in the story of Noah and the character of Noah and the way that these apocalyptic Christian believers in the early first centuries of Christianity believed, that they believed that they were being warned of things not seen, that Jesus was going to return and pass judgment. And so they believed that they had found faith in that, and then that they were going to move forward with that. Okay, and so in holy fear, Noah builds an ark, and in holy fear, people accepted the gospel because they didn't want to go to hell or face the end of the world or the final judgment. And, it really is giving the notion that faith is about saving your butt. Okay, and by faith, he condemned the world. This is another aspect of faith that the writer of Hebrews seems to want to introduce to us, which I think early believers and believers to this day continue to have, that their faith saves them, but the lack of faith in everybody else condemns them. So their faith condemns you. It's an interesting concept, isn't it? That because they have faith, they condemn you, because obviously some people believe, and you're just too thick-headed not to. And so the writer of Hebrews looks at the character of Noah and sees a man who is basically saving his own butt by believing in God, condemns the rest of the world, and still sees him as an heir of righteousness. This is the kind of, twisted mentality that faith leads you to, in my opinion. I think when I look at the story of Noah and I look at what the writer of Hebrews says about him, I think what we have here is an interesting justification, because I personally think that what the God does in this story is one of the most evil acts that you could possibly do, I'm so glad it's not real. But the idea of wiping out all of humanity because you don't have a better plan as to far how to start over seems a little bit, diminishing of the God being all-knowing and all-powerful. There's a lot of different ways he could have handled this situation that human imagination can come up with. Surely God had some better plans than us mere mortals. But it's really the interest that I have at this point in the writer of Hebrews and how he looks at these characters and sees good in them, but I don't see Noah as a good character. See, to me, Noah lacks anything other than saving his own ass, okay? And he just says, okay, the big thug bad boy God says he's going to nuke the world, but he's going to save me as long as I build this boat. I'm building the boat, okay? And so he goes out and he builds the ship out of fear, not because he has any real devotion to God, but he's afraid. He's afraid of what God's going to do to him if he doesn't. Okay, and this is the mentality that faith starts to take you down. You start to believe in things simply to save your own butt from an imaginary cause of death. And this is where the story goes off the rails for me. But the writer of Hebrews is trying to say that that's okay. It's okay for your faith to cause you holy fear. It's okay for your faith to think it's okay that you're going to be saved and everybody else is going to die. Noah doesn't even seem to have any compassion for any of these people. Okay, I think Jesus says, about righteous Noah, how he preached, and there's a lot of stories and apocryphal stories about how Noah preached righteousness to all these people, but in the biblical story that we have, it's not there. Okay, it's almost like they made it up post hoc when somebody kind of condemned Noah for these very reasons. Gee, Noah doesn't really do anything to save the rest of humanity. He just does a lot of stuff to save himself. Okay, and so faith allows you to be selfish. It allows you to think better of yourself than everybody else because, hey, you're getting saved and everybody else is getting condemned. And somehow that's okay. And I just don't get it. It's this moral acceptance. What faith causes you to do is this moral acceptance of the might makes right ethic. God has all the power, and so his opinion on human morality counts no matter what anybody else's opinion on morality is. Okay, I'm sorry, God's opinion on morality, or supposed God's opinion on morality as presented in the Bible, is just another subjective opinion about what the way morality in human society should go. And he has a lot of bad ideas, to be fair. And so when we look at all of that, slavery being one of them, just for the record, but when we look at all that, what we're being asked by the writer of Hebrews to accept is a lot of what Christians accept when faith. A lot of Christians accept the faith message because they don't want to go to hell, or they don't want to be annihilated, or whatever your theological flavor is. And they'd rather go to heaven. And so it's really about punching their ticket to get some sort of gain out of it. And they're not really concerned about the rest of humanity as long as they're saved. And you know what? I have faith in this, so I know I'm going to be saved. And the rest of you that don't have faith, you're going to be condemned. their faith condemns everybody else, according to the writer of Hebrews, and that's okay. That makes you an heir of righteousness. This kind of twisted thinking is what faith does to you. And that's my real problem with the story and with the writer of Hebrews' interpretation of it. Noah doesn't really do anything, per se, that I would consider worthy of calling him a good human being. He saves his own ass and the ass of his family. He only preserves the animals, in my opinion, because he needs them later to survive. He afterwards has a lot of guilt about this, and I think that's why he gets drunk. He plants a vineyard. He could have planted anything else, but he decides to plant a vineyard, and he makes some wine out of it, gets drunk, gets naked, and probably, if I was looking at the story in a purely secular point of view, you just watch all of humanity die. Yeah, I'm sure that's going to have some stress on the rest of your human nature. You know, maybe at this point, I would say that maybe Noah getting drunk afterwards is one of the most human and compassionate things he does. He actually seems to try to deal with the grief over the loss of the world, and nobody else seems to, not even God. So we don't really have this character doing much of anything that I would consider decent human being. Even the writer of Hebrews is admitting he just had faith to save his butt and condemned everybody else by doing so. And that's all he really does, and that's why he's a hero of faith. He literally builds a boat, watches everybody drown, and then gets drunk afterwards. And that's what makes him a hero of faith. And I'm not really sure that that's a viewpoint of faith that I would like. This is what causes me to think faith is even more auto-deceptive. It causes you to be very self-centered. It causes you to say, I'm just doing this, have faith, God, to save my own butt. I'm doing this out of holy fear. I condemn the rest of you by my having faith and the rest of you don't. And that's okay because that makes me a righteous person. Wow, that's a pretty twisted mentality that you won't even lift a finger to save the rest of humanity. And while they drown, you just kind of know they're drowning or watch them drown or whatever and go, well, glad it wasn't me. And that's somehow admirable. That's somehow something you should pat your back with. I don't think so. But as always, I'd be interested to hear some of your thoughts about faith and Noah and the scripture. I'm not going to get into the whole ridiculous nature of the story and why some people in Kentucky need to really rethink their lives. But, at the same time, I just wanted to focus on the aspect of why the writer of Hebrews thinks that Noah is a hero of faith, but I don't really see it in the story, and there's nothing heroic here. There's nothing Hall of Fame worthy. To me, Noah is a very self-centered character who demonstrates that on several levels, and in so doing, condemns everybody else and says, hey, I'm God's friend, and you guys aren't. Tough shit to be you. And that's kind of where it ends up. But as always, you're free to comment away. The whole point of this Bible study series is for me to get the discussion rolling. So I'd be interested in your thoughts about it. So thank you for all of those. And thanks for stopping by. I appreciate every like, share, and subscribe. The channel continues to grow, and I appreciate every bit of that. And as always, live your best life. You only get one go around, so make it a good one. Don't waste your time, money, and opportunities on the trappings of religion and faith, but rather give them to yourself, to those that you love and care for, and to make this a better world. You'll be happier if you do. And as always, thanks for stopping by, and I'll catch you next time.